And welcome back to the next episode of the Making the Cut podcast. I'm your host Jacob from Made the Cut, along with my co-host Peyton from Big League Analysis over on TikTok. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I mean, baseball's getting full on your way, and Mike Trout looks awesome. So
Dude,
baseball's better when Mike Trout looks awesome.
Everything is right with the world when Mike Trout is hitting home runs. Seven. You already got seven, dude.
The second most he's had in the opening month of the season ever in his career,
So
and
cool,
it's
dude.
it's April 16th as we're recording. You should have saw, dude. It was kind of, I wouldn't say embarrassing because I'm not embarrassed of it, but I turned on the Angels game yesterday when Trout hit that piss missile,
Mm-hmm.
and I turned into a 9-year-old in front of my girlfriend.
Exactly, dude.
Anytime I see Trout do something good, it makes me feel like I'm in element. Like I just makes like he's my hero when I was young, man. I can't help it. But it
Dude,
was just like
yeah.
I was screaming like
Oh my God, dude.
incoherently.
Exactly. Dude, I just want to see Acuna and Judge come back around. I want to have everybody that's really good playing as much as possible. We already lost Strider. Like, dude, I want
No,
to
no,
see like the stars
it's
shine, you
crazy.
know?
It really is crazy. Some of the stars that are struggling. I know we got into this quickly. I don't know if one of your opening points has to do with one of those.
It does, yeah. Actually, funny enough.
So, I mean, you want to just get into it then?
Let's do it, dude.
So, I don't want to steal your thunder.
Hell yeah, man. We'll get into our first segment, which of course, as always, is does this take make the cut?
Yep.
My first take, which is not necessarily related around like the at this point the biggest star in baseball,
Mhm.
but somebody
Okay.
who's been a Hall of Fame level caliber talent for 10 plus years at this point. Okay. So my take, does this take make the cut? Nolan Arenado has officially started his decline and will never again post a WAR above 5 in a full season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna say, so your question is two-pronged. I'm going to say yes and yes, but the reason is I think he's already started his decline last year. And
Hmm.
honestly, since the pandemic season in 2020, he's really only had one great year, which was 2022, which
Yeah.
great understates it. It was one of the best, if not the best season of his career, but 2020, first year in a new city, I get it, kind of rough. 2021 was pretty mid for his standards. The homers were there, the defense was there, but overall hitting production really wasn't there.
Yeah.
2022 almost won the MVP award. His teammate won it. Crazy. But last year was not great. I mean, his defense declined for one,
Yeah.
and Key Bryant officially overtook him for the Gold Glove, which he probably should have gotten one before, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, the hitting started to decline last year, and he has heated up in recent times, and he's starting to look good again after a somewhat rough start. But still, I don't think the 130 over 130 OPS plus Nolan Arenado is back. Like, can he be does he still have the ability to pull 25 plus homers out? For sure. However, I don't know if he necessarily has the same defensive ceiling as he does and the same overall offensive profile that he does. So I'm going to say that both takes sadly make the cut.
Yeah, 100%. So the thing with Nolan is he always was an insane level performer when it comes to his glove,
Yes.
right? But the one thing about that was I think largely it was his preparation and his just overall intelligence as a fielder, knowing where his body was at all times. We saw even with A-Rod in that one ESPN segment, him practicing throws from his knees and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But he never has been like a truly exceptional athlete. He even was moved from shortstop to go to third, right? Obviously for that reason. So because of that, I think he's going to age a little worse than other guys who have put up similar levels of production for long periods of time before him, just because as his body starts to hit that real decline and he loses that mobility, that training it'll still shine through. He still is going to post decent numbers. I agree with you. I think he's still going to be good, but he's not going to be able to make up for those deficiencies with his body. Like he's just not going to be able to have that same level of agility that he used to have. And because of that, I don't see him ever getting back up to a WAR of a 5. And by the way, I mean WAR of 5 is all-star level like that. That's really, really good. So if he
Yes,
was
yeah.
at 3, 4, Cardinals are going to be happy. He was at 4 roughly in 2021. So I'm sure the Cardinals would take that. And I would too, as a baseball fan. Another thing that it has kind of been exposed with Nolan Arenado in recent years, I think, is that he never has had incredibly great plate discipline. Part of the
Mhm.
reason he used to have really good OBPs with Colorado was because his batting average was so high, which is, obviously largely Core's effect. Like
Yes.
that played in there as well. But because of that, now that we're seeing him sink down to the 270s, 280s, that on base percentage is like 320, 330. You're just not going to be able to post, 130, 140 OPS pluses, WRC pluses when your on base percentage is that low, unless you're just absolutely crushing home runs. So, which he's obviously at this point, he's not gonna, I don't think, hit 35 plus home runs. So yeah, that's why I put the take out there. It's kind of sad to see, but hey, if he kind of just coasts around his level of production from last year, 2021, the next 5 years, like he's still inner circle Hall of Fame, especially as a third baseman.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm taking that if I'm a baseball
Listen,
fan for sure.
listen, even if Nolan absolutely like craps himself the next few years, he's a
He's
Hall
still
of
there.
Famer.
Yeah.
He's a Hall of Famer no matter. I mean, I don't think this is a crazy take. I think he's a Hall of Famer right now,
Yeah, I agree. I agree
even
100%.
even without an MVP. I think that's how
Yeah.
impressive his resume is, especially with the double digit Gold Gloves and the homers. I think, yeah, maybe to really solidify it, he needs a few more just seasons of just counting stat accumulation, but he's there,
He's there.
right?
Yeah.
And this isn't even a dig at Nolan. It's simply it's time.
It's time. It happens to everybody. When it's going to
Yes.
happen is, that's anybody's guess. But on top of that, too, he's always had a very active batting stance, right? Where he rocks back and
There, oh
forth.
my God,
And
yeah.
that, because when you have so many pieces to your batting stance, it just feels like those guys, generally speaking, unless you're Gary Sheffield, who also ate a balanced breakfast, don't get me wrong, but still, guys who have a really or complicated batting stance, again, it's hard, right? Because it's like you're used to your body moving a certain way, and as your body starts to age, it can become difficult to continue to
Mhm.
produce at the same level that you were. But yeah, regardless, I'm gonna be really happy to see him make his way into Cooperstown regardless. All right, man, you want to give us your first take?
Yes, but before I wanted to give one more final note on Nolan, and I think this is something that may not bode as well, or it may. This is
Okay.
two ways to look at it. I think we've had this conversation before, and it's that no pretty much all of Nolan's home runs are pulled fly balls.
Yeah.
Nolan is not hitting, especially not at cores anymore. Like he's not going to be hitting crazy tape measure shots. Most of the time,
Yeah.
it's 390-foot homers, 410. Like you see it in Tampa Bay with Isaac Paredes right now, where last year Isaac Paredes had 31 homers or 29 homers, maybe one of the two.
31.
And
Yeah.
his longest homer last year was 415 feet, I think.
Right. He just has
So
that swing that's perfect for that exact type
yes.
of hit.
So there's two ways to look at it. It's one, it's like, oh, like if Nolan decreases any sort of, if he declines at all, homers are gone because he's not even powerful in the second place. Other way to look at it is, well, he doesn't even need power. It's just he's mastered the art of pulling them over the wall that it might age well. So like there's just something to
Yeah.
think about.
And
Something to
he's
think
the
about.
thing is he's incredibly intelligent as well. And I think
Exactly.
that really does play in there, especially on the hitting side, where it's like
Yeah.
if time keeps going on and he's struggling, he's not just going to sit there and continue to see a decline. He's going to do whatever he can to augment his game. Maybe he's going to start trying to pull more line drives or, line more liners up the center of the diamond. Who knows? He's going to make some adjustments though. So you can, that's one thing that's nice with a guy like him is you can guarantee he's on his own case more than anybody else.
Yes.
100% man. All right. What's your first take?
I'm gonna give my first one. I think this is a hilarious one. It's from MLB. It's from Southwest's favorite MLB team.
Oh,
And
nice.
my made the cut take is the Oakland A's don't lose 100 games. Does that take make the cut?
That take does not make the cut, dude. That dude,
You're not
this
sold on them?
no, I am not sold on the Oakland A's, dude. I'm not. So the thing is, they have some talent, and I think that because they have kind of some of their talent is showing out right now because they
Yes.
are exceptionally gifted, specifically players like Mason Miller. I'm
Oh,
very excited to see. Obviously, they just called back up. They're still Estuary Ruiz should
yes.
never have been down. That's ridiculous. They have some
Tough.
also like some decent young talent. That's what happens when you tank that hard for like the last couple seasons.
They've always
However,
had good young talent.
that's a good point. They've always had good young, but at the
Yeah.
end of the day, I want to throw up a couple things that maybe people aren't talking about right now that's specifically affecting the team. First of all, this move, they don't have any fan base behind them at
Mhm.
all. Like they have a couple thousand fans showing up every game. It's very difficult to sustain above your head levels of performance without the support of a fan base. I've noticed
Mhm.
that generally speaking, that when you see teams that are kind of outperforming, they are coming from markets where it's like they have the support of their fan base every single night. If you don't have that, you're having to support each other specifically, and that's the only real level of inspiration you have to keep going there. Because baseball is a grind; it's 162 games. Keep going in
Yeah.
there grinding every day. I don't. a young group of young guys like that, it's like when it comes down to it and we're hitting the middle of the summer, do I see those guys being able to lean on each other who've never really been there before, just to the level of not losing 100 games with how bad they were last year? They could go on a Marlin stretch in 2 weeks, and I would not be surprised, you know?
That's a good
So,
point.
yeah, I'm not sold. I'm not sold yet.
You know what's funny? It's like it's crazy how bad a team has to be that the discussion is could they maybe not lose triple digit games?
You
But
seriously?
no, the thing is though, so I think at the start of the year, sports books had the A's over under win total at 54 and a half, which is I
That's
think I saw that at one point.
damn.
Maybe if someone's a gambling person, correct me, but I remember I thought I saw that or 56 and a half or something crazy.
Yeah.
Something that had them losing like well over 100 games, which
Yeah.
is funny because these are pro baseball players. But at the same time, like you said, it's the A's. However, something just as like a hypothetical, which won't happen. I'm not saying this is there's like a 0.1% chance it
Okay.
happens. Hypothetically, let's say the A's go on some sort of major league the movie run. If the A's are somehow flirting, if the A's by some miracle are somehow in a wild card race, does the fan base rally behind them or do they stick? I know they're going to stick to their
Hmm.
protest. I know they are, but it's interesting to think about how
What volume would that translate,
yeah,
right?
like
Exactly.
like the A's if the A's went on a run and their stadium was still empty, which would it would be very like a very interesting concept to think about. This
A
is like
hundred
this
percent.
pure
Yeah.
hypothetical because it's not going to happen.
I think
But
that it would come around for sure. I mean, it depends on, funny enough, how the community almost like chooses to market itself to ownership. We could see the
yeah,
opposite, where it's like all of a sudden 30,000, 40,000 people are showing up every night and they're like, hey, listen, this team is good. Keep them here. Like, you know, that
that's
there could end
true.
up being a because it's tough when you're losing that many games. It almost feels like, oh, you're abandoning us, we'll abandon you. If the players are showing up to that level, then it's almost like the players are like not abandoning us. It's ownership. So how can we turn this into some kind of movement against ownership specifically? But yeah, I'll put it this way: if the A's are sniffing the playoff picture in 6 months, I'll eat my hat. I don't think
Dude,
I'll eat my
it's not
hat
gonna
on
happen.
camera.
It's
Okay.
even though they do have a better record than the Houston Astros right
Ah, dude, that's a whole
now.
other like ball of
Yeah,
wax right there. I want to
yeah.
throw out one thing.
Okay.
So for all the people right now that are like talking about the A's from the perspective of maybe they're not gonna, do you know what their leader is right now in OPS among qualified hitters?
Okay. So I'm gonna throw out the name Zach Geloff. Is it
That's
not?
that's pretty good. He's fourth. So it's Shea Langoliers,
Oh, he had three
right?
homers in
Makes
a
sense.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, he's at 711,
Oh,
and those three homers represent three-quarters of his total for the year. He's at four homers.
yeah.
Everyone else is below 700. Like they don't have the offense. They just don't. JD Davis, I think I've been long high on JD Davis as a kind of an underrated power potential
Yeah.
player. He's batting 196 right now. I think he could hit 25 home runs this year. But I mean, outside of that, Brent Rooker could maybe hit 25. Maybe JJ Bleday. Saw him in college. He was really good back then. I could see him sneaking into 20. But like beyond that, man, I don't see. I don't know
No.
if any guy in that lineup posting above 100 OPS plus besides like Brent and maybe JD.
Dude, they're gonna dump like they're gonna trade Blackburn like they're gonna like
Anybody
we
they
know what they're gonna
can.
team. They're gonna gut the team in July and it's gonna be another whatever. But
Get
still,
Mason Miller out of there. I would so love to
I love
see.
Mason Miller.
I
No,
would
can they
so love to see him on some team that's actually worth anything. You know what I
my
mean?
favorite anecdote of Mason Miller is outside of the fact that, by the way, absolute workhorse. This dude has
Yeah.
type 2 diabetes, the one that or maybe one, I forget. He has diabetes.
Wow.
He had a world of health issues with everything. He's had so many health issues on and off the field. And that's why he kind of was struggling to really maintain being a starter because it was really beating up his workload. So they
Wow.
moved him to be a closer. And this dude the other day, like a week or two ago, he had a 2 inning save against the Red Sox, and this dude was getting fired up like it was the World Series. There was 1,000 people
Yeah.
there. I
Dude,
just love that guy. I
me
just
too,
like
dude. Well, you know what's funny
yeah.
is that that's a great transition point into what my next question is.
Okay.
Because Mason Miller, I think, is the archetype for what this could be laying out. Okay.
Okay.
So you obviously the injury issues recently have
Of
been
course.
massive, right? Among MLB fans, a lot of talk about pitch clocks, you know, pitch speeds, workloads, all those things. So this is kind of my take. My take is the only current solution to the pitcher injury issue en masse could possibly be throwing less innings, meaning that the role of starting pitcher as we know it today will more than likely be either phased out completely or at least heavily modified from where it is now.
You see, that is very interesting
My
because
take is kind of this. Let me lay this out a little bit. So
okay,
I've
okay,
kind of
okay.
had the idea for a video for a while as well. I don't know if I'm ever going to make it, but posturing the idea, postulating the idea that a pitcher, someone like Jacob DeGrom, right? Because Jacob DeGrom will not stay healthy if they go out there with the intent of having to throw
Yes.
6 innings every game. He won't. For him physiologically, I don't think it's possible. Clayton Kershaw at this point in his career, I don't think it's possible. Justin Verlander at this point in his career, I think could benefit from the idea of a role of somebody who throws 3, 4 innings. That's all that's expected of them. Go out there, get me 12 outs and throw as hard as you can. Give me your A plus stuff, right? Especially for someone like Verlander who can still throw 98 if he like really ramps up. Give me your A plus stuff for 4 innings, and that's
Mhm.
all that I want. And then for the rest of the game, I'm going 1, 2 innings at max velocity for all of my guys, right?
Yeah.
I understand that the big problem with this is, first of all, it's heavily volatile. Relief pitchers are heavily volatile. So if you build kind of a team that's just specifically not getting innings from a certain portion of their starting rotation, that could create a situation of heavy volatility. However, I can tell you this. I would rather see, as a baseball fan, 120 innings of Jacob DeGrom versus 60 innings of Jacob DeGrom. And I think the Rangers would rather see
Mhm.
that too. And if that 120 innings is coming over 40 games versus the 60 innings coming over 10 games, it's obvious what's still like worth their money. Again, because that'd be a tough sell, right? To owners is, oh, I'm going to pay a guy $30 million to go 4 innings. Right now, you're paying him $40 million to give you 60 innings over a full season.
Mhm.
It's not worth it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, like that's the thing. You know what's funny is that kind of coincides with a recent thought I was having, which is kind of the opposite, which is I which is also related to Mason Miller, weirdly enough, because I thought of something how I feel like a weird thing in baseball right now is I feel like there should be more inning eater relievers, right?
Right. Well, that's
Because
kind of what
I
I'm saying.
right,
Transition them into that.
which is kind of what you're saying, but like my mindset was a bit different. Is
Mhm.
I think it's funny that you have these guys like Mason Miller or you have these starters with electric stuff. For example, I think a really good example of this is Luis Heel of the New York Yankees
Yeah.
is an apps is you if you look at his stuff, it's insane. You know, he has some command issues, whatever, but I was thinking like if you hand this guy the ball 2 innings, like guaranteed
Yeah.
3 innings, like he still has the starter groove, but you know
Dude,
he's
Luis
there's
Severino.
less like exactly where it's like they don't pace themselves as much, which is funny because
Exactly.
that was the original role of the reliever, which is funny. Like back
Yes.
in the day, relievers threw like for example, I think I forget his name, but there's a guy who like won the MVP, I think for the Phillies, Roberts, I think was the last name. He threw like
Oh, yeah. Robin Roberts.
200 innings out of the pen.
Yep. Dude, I mean,
Like not like
Hoyt
that. I'm not.
Wilhelm.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not saying that because obviously it's not gonna happen. But
Yeah.
I do feel like there is. I do feel like there's going to be a trend of these more multi-inning relievers coming up because
You know what's funny too? Okay, what's hilarious about this to me is
yeah.
that you don't ever want to look at MLB the show as a predictor of future success for
Uh-huh.
anybody, right? But what's funny is in every single iteration of the game I've played for the last 3 years, by about 2030, 2031, and anybody who's in the comments can attest to this, I'm sure.
Mhm.
At that point, you start seeing baseball have a ton of guys who are throwing 60, 70 games and 180 innings every single time you simulate out that far.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I think that that potentially could be a very interesting idea because it's like, even in the game, what I've always built my teams as, right? I always
Mhm.
pick a new team every year. I always designate one guy who I essentially give all of the innings to for the guys who can't make it in the starting rotation, right? So he always goes 160 innings, and it's always really good for the
Yeah.
team. It just makes
But
perfect
yes.
sense to me, right? That it's like
Yeah.
you need guys who can soak up that amount of innings. And again, there's a lot of people who'd be mad at, okay, because yeah, we used to have 3 starting pitchers, then 4, then 5. And now what I'm kind of posturing is we either get rid of it, maybe we go to 6, maybe we go to 7. Like what?
Yes.
But we have to decrease innings because this is the thing. I've heard other people say, oh, it's as obvious what the answer is. We have to decrease velocity. Guys need to stop throwing as hard.
Yeah.
It is a statistical fact that when you throw harder, you're less likely to hit the ball. That be it whatever you want. Greg Maddux enjoyers, I understand where you're coming from. Okay, some guys that's not the right solution. En masse, if you have guys throwing harder, it's gonna be harder to hit the ball. So because of that, baseball will not intentionally make their pitching worse. That goes against the very idea
Yes.
of how an organization runs. They don't ever intentionally make anything worse than it used to be. Not gonna happen. The only way to potentially solve this in terms of guys getting injured constantly is to decrease their workload because it's wear and tear.
Which is crazy. But you see, the interesting part about that though is that I feel like when we have this whole debate with people are like, oh, pitchers getting hurt more, but the workload's lesser than it's ever been, which I find to be it's not false. Well, it is false, but it's just narrow-minded because
yes,
guys have been throwing 90 miles an hour since the age of 14 now, and they're pitching 200 innings a year from the age of 14 to every year. They go to college, they go whatever, they go into the pro ball. Like their elbows are just, they probably have TJ by the time they're 18.
right.
These guys already are cooked. Back in the day, they didn't do that, and the training was way less taxing. They were drinking a beer, they were chilling on the
Exactly.
off season. Like it's different. And I'm not saying, and listen, maybe there's something to that. Maybe the fact that guys were throwing year round is probably bad to try and keep up with maximizing their stuff. Maybe that's the issue. Why are we maximizing everything? Even though, by the way, to go back to your velo point, the Greg Maddux thing always drives me crazy because he threw
He
above
wasn't
average
throwing
for the
78
time.
miles an hour, dude.
He was
Exactly.
throwing today's equivalent of like 95. Like
Exactly. He was throwing 90
but
out of high school. He got drafted in the second round. That
exactly.
was a big part of the reason why.
Exactly. But regardless, right? I think it's like you said, I think the not solution to this, I think we're always gonna have this issue, but I think there's gonna have to be a philosophical change of how we look at pitchers,
Yeah.
right? And their workloads, whether that's like you said, kind of getting rid of the starter altogether, or is it expanding the workload of relievers, or kind of having like expanding the role of the swingman more, maybe have like
Exactly.
these former starters who are fringe starters turn into these like 2 to 3 inning weapons a couple times a week with like lesser days, and now they're throwing
Right.
like 110 innings with like
And
I
this,
think
yeah.
yes, I was gonna say I think there's a role of pitcher that maybe was used back in the day with the multi-inning reliever, like the old way they used to go,
Yeah.
that may make an interesting comeback.
100%, dude. I mean, I want to say this too. Okay. What do you think the most important innings are in a baseball game from the perspective of pitching? What innings are they? If you had to give me a range of 3 innings, what would you say they are?
See, I would. I'm sure there's probably some evidence to back this up, but I would say the first few.
And I totally get where you're coming from.
Yeah,
For me personally, I would probably say 7, 8, 9. And
because
it's
it was one of the two.
the games that you have to win are going to be won more than likely in that range. The thing
Yes,
is, if you give up 6 runs early, it's tough,
yes,
but you still
that's
have a
the way I was
chance.
looking. Yes, that's fair. Yeah,
But if you give up 6 runs, 7, 8, 9, you're probably not going to win. So all I was going to say was that imagine what we could also manipulate is when these guys are pitching. Jacob DeGrom, let's say he goes out there and he throws 4 innings and he throws 4 innings twice a week, right? But they're staggered more so. And then he has weeks he takes off and all these things, 3 innings twice a week, whatever it is. He can then do that in the later innings when he can count more. You bring him in at a specific time, right? That could
yeah,
also open you up to a whole other range of possibilities where maybe he goes and throws 1 inning for 3 days in a row, then takes a day off, right? You give yourself the ability, if he's not feeling that good, give him a couple days off. You give yourself that flexibility. Whereas where it is right now, it's like even when we're looking at things like optimal matchups, you're not going to disturb Jacob DeGrom's start schedule, even though he's going to pitch against a team like the Oakland A's, right? You're not going to move him out of that spot. You're going to leave him in that position. Even if optimally, you might shift him a day later to face the Rays, right? Maybe you got the Rays the next day and you really want your best facing the best. This completely opens up a whole realm of possibility in terms of matchups where now maybe you'd have your
Yeah.
best guys face the best teams. And it, to me, it's like it makes sense that the more granular baseball gets, the more analytical baseball gets, the more sense it makes to plug guys in to more optimal situations that are more and more micro.
Yeah, yeah, like you said, like I think this is a really interesting debate, right? Because well, not less debate because me and you aren't really debating. We're more just talking about how I feel like too, like obviously sports evolve, everything evolves. We're looking at sports have gotten positionless, sports have developed all these footballs developed these like hybrid positions, how like the tight ends kind of become a receiver and like
Yeah.
all this stuff and how, you know, defensive players move way better than they ever have, and the NBA has gone basically positionless at times. I think there's a chance that you could see some sort of example of that with pitchers in baseball in the next 10 or 15 years.
Yeah. It'll be a little bit because, yeah, all right now, we have all these investments, right? Again, where it's
Yeah.
like Justin Verlander paid $40 million this season to be a starter. I mean, they're just
Mhm.
not going to transition him to be a reliever. It'll be a while before that happens. All right,
Oh,
man.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
go ahead.
Exactly, yeah.
I was
Like
gonna.
yeah, like that wouldn't happen until that would have to start from the bottom up. Like that what we're talking about
Exactly,
would be a change over decades.
exactly, dude. All right, man. You want to give me your next take?
Yeah, I mean, so not that listen, we're it's April 16th.
Yeah,
However, we sometimes gotta there's some slumps you just gotta at least talk about,
yeah.
especially when there's some weird numbers behind it. So here is here is my take, even though I thought this player was gonna come up the gates roaring and steal back-to-back MVPs. But my my second take is Ronald Acuna Jr. Wait, I just froze.
All right, you back? The internet's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
still okay. Good, good, good.
You want to just
Yeah, yeah. Take it from the top with the presenting of the question. Perfect. I
yeah,
mean, it's cool. Since it didn't die, we can still edit it.
yeah. Okay. Second take, right? Slumps are going to happen, and it's early in the season. However, I kind of just want to throw this out there just to have a conversation about, this because there's these two players who I feel like have kind of been linked because they came up at the same time. Um, and it's interesting to see how this guy has kind of always struggled the first month of the year, while this other guy is kind of taken the league by storm in unprecedented ways this year. And that is, does this take make the cut? By the end of the season, Bobby Witt Jr. is considered a better baseball player by the consensus than Julio Rodriguez.
Okay. Is this a question of in terms of overall talent, or is this more of a question in terms of overall the year that they had?
Well, I'm going to go with the overall year they had. Again,
Okay.
it's still early. If you look at the numbers, it's Bobby Witt Jr. by a landslide.
Yeah.
Julio Rodriguez looks lost at the plate, but here's the thing. He looked lost at the plate last April. He did not look good when he debuted for a bit. Like there's Julio is a slow starter. That's a
Yes.
100% fact. Bobby Witt right now has an average exit velocity of almost 98 miles an hour, and I've never seen someone just barrel up everything he touches like him at the moment. And by the way, yeah, he's a shortstop. And also, by the way, he runs over 30 feet per second.
Yeah.
Absolute specimen. So by the end of the year, because I'm not talking about this year alone. I'm talking about how the consensus views them at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Because right now, Julio Rodriguez is kind of seen as a borderline top 10 player. Bobby Witt is getting up there, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't I wouldn't say people had not many had Witt above Julio going into the year.
No, no, no.
There was players, like a good amount of players in between them.
Oh,
But
100%. Yeah.
what I'm throwing out there is, do you think Witt surpasses or at least is at the same level as Julio by the consensus at the end of the year?
I think he does, and I think it's largely for one reason. So his offense is going to tail off a little bit. Nobody can maintain what he's maintaining.
Obviously, that's
The thing that scares me the most as a baseball fan when I evaluate him kind of from this try to evaluate from an objective point of view because I'm not a Royals fan is the 5 to 18 walk to strikeout ratio. It's tough when you're striking out that much while also walking that little.
Mhm.
Eventually, that means you're free swinging right now, right? They're gonna try to poke holes in that as much as they can. He's never been a big on base guy, so that's gonna overall drag him down. However, there's one thing that inevitably is going to give him a huge leg up, and that is the fact that right now he's one of the best defensive players in Major League Baseball. His DWAR this year is leading the league at 0.6 through the first 17 games. That's crazy. He's
He's
already saved
ridiculous.
5 runs in terms of DRS, got a crazy amount of outs above average already. The hitting will decline. It's inevitable. It's going to decline a bit. However, last year, he finished seventh in MVP voting in the AL. Like that's really, really good. And again, he wasn't last year, fielding wise, wasn't the best fielder, 0.3 D war. I know he had some good outs with average totals. Again, there's conflict between those two bodies,
Yes.
kind of the but regardless, I think this year he takes an inevitable step forward on defense and the offense comes up a bit. Julio had
Yes.
a great year last year, right? However, with the start that he's had this year, I'm finding it he went on an all-time tear. Is he going to have another all-time tear this year to get back to where he was
Exactly.
last year? You can't keep
Hmm.
banking on that. So I think Julio still settles in as a top 30, top 40 baseball player in the major leagues, production-wise, by the end of the year. I think he's a near lock for around 5 more, right? However,
Yes.
I think at this point, if Witt doesn't throw up 5.5 to 6, I'll be a little surprised just because, especially as a shortstop, the ability to gather that amount of value if you field well and then have decent peripherals outside of that,
Hmm.
it's not unlike any other position besides, you can make an argument maybe catcher, center field. Both of those are also, you can gather a lot of value from that. But on top of that, too, by the way, he has 3 stolen bases right now. He's been caught 3 times. He hasn't even got going with his legs yet. Once
Yeah.
that starts coming in, then that's also going to be at play. So I think the take definitely does make the cut. And it's not really, again, a knock on Julio. It's just at the end of the day, I can't bank on another Julio all time streak. And I feel like I can at least bank on Witt's defense this year.
Can I read you Julio's slash line right now? Because this
Go
is
ahead.
like, again, 68 plate appearances into the year.
Right.
I'm not saying he's washed.
Don't sell
I'm
him in
just,
fantasy.
yeah, that's not what I'm saying. Do not do that. Oh my God. I'm just throwing it out there because this is crazy to me.
Yeah.
68 plate appearances. He's batting 190 with a 250 on base percentage and a 206 slug for a 456 OPS. Not on base percentage, OPS. He has one extra base hit.
Yeah.
Now, the fielding is there. And again, a 190 average through first couple weeks of the season is obviously bad. However, you can still be productive with that. Like
Yeah.
for example, Aaron Judge right now is batting 190. However, Aaron Judge is playing crappy right now. Would you say that for Aaron Judge's standards?
Oh, by far. Yes.
Yes.
Worst
Guess
start to a
what?
season.
Guess what? 127 WRC plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, like but that's the thing. Like even when Aaron Judge is being objectively bad, you can be like, oh, like he'll figure it out. Like he's still a productive hitter, and guess what? Judge is striking out less than he did, and he's whiffing less than he did. So like we're like, okay, like there's promising signs here,
Yeah.
right? Julio has a 40 WRC plus. He has a negative WAR, and guess what? While the fielding and base running stuff is still there, like he's not really hitting the exit velo stuff has declined. Like the
Yeah.
expected numbers don't look that sexy. Like he's striking out like
And
more. Like
yeah.
like listen, here's the thing. Like, is it concerning? No, I would say just because Julio Rodriguez is as talented as he is, but are we just like, what are we doing here? Yeah. Like if
This is,
Julio
yeah.
if Julio didn't start the way he did last year, Seattle would have made the playoffs. And I'm not blaming this on him.
No.
Seattle wouldn't
100%
have been
no.
close to the playoffs without him. But we can't, you starting this slow is just really bad, obviously.
100%. And yeah, something you got to throw out there too is that, okay, so he starts off his career 6.2 WAR, 132 games.
Yes,
Crazy. Rookie of the year, right? Seventh
yes,
place MVP finish. First season. Crazy. 147
yes.
OPS plus. Last year, I think you have a little bit of the bias of people remember the midpoint of things and the end point of things. They don't
Yes.
remember as well the beginning of things. He finished hot last year. Don't get me wrong. Again, all-time levels of hot streak towards the end of the year. But overall, his OPS plus was worse. His
Mhm.
whole slash was worse. Everything was a little bit less. His overall WAR, 5.3. Still really good. Don't get me wrong. Again, that's all-star level from a 22-year-old.
Yeah.
However, still almost a WAR less than he did the year before in 132 games. This season, he's starting off slow. Again, the peripherals, they don't look great. Reminds me of Ronald Acuna Jr., right? Similar start to him as well. Where it's again, the
Yeah.
peripherals
Yeah.
don't look great. Ronald Acuna is at an all-time low for his fly ball percentage, right? So I was like, you have some troubling signs. The thing with Julio is, I think that what we have to settle into as baseball fans is everybody keeps saying, this guy's going to be the next MVP. This guy's going to be the next Ken Griffey Jr. This guy's going to be the next whatever it is. Listen,
Mhm.
if he goes out there and throws up a 5.3 WAR every season for the next 10 years, he's going to be
Yes.
a Hall of Famer. Like
Exactly.
from there, he can coast. He'll make it. Like he's not gonna necessarily go to 10 WAR. I know we in a previous video we talked about he has the talent to do it. He's not necessarily gonna get there. And I
Yeah.
wonder how
Exactly.
much of this is the same thing as it was last year. A young guy who feels like the weight of the world is on his shoulders because he has to be the guy to lead his team into the playoffs. That hasn't been there for 20 years. And
Mhm.
he's overswinging. He's struggling a little bit. And at what point are we going to kind of temper our expectations, take a little bit of that pressure off him? Hopefully, maybe a little bit less of that he ends up getting to his head, and then maybe we'll end up starting to see those 7+ wars, 8+ war seasons. But for now, it's like Witt's not feeling that way, and he's also on a team that doesn't have that level of expectations that are overperforming relative to what the expectations were. I'm in
Yeah.
for Witt for 2024 for sure.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting point too, where it's like Seattle's expected to get back to the postseason, where the Royals are this hungry team that are trying to at least like a successful season for KC right now would be to flirt with a winning season, like
Yeah,
from their fan base, right? So
500 would be amazing.
I think, yeah, I mean, if you're a Royals fan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure you guys would be happy with a winning season, even if it meant no playoffs. Just like knowing what you have going into the future, right?
Whole
You're
Reagan's looks insane.
Yeah, don't yeah, he's absurd. But like right, like I think they would be happy with that. Dude, I want to throw this out there. So since his debut, J-Rod has a 612 OPS in the first month of the season.
Right?
Since 2020, that is worse than guys like Manuel Margot, Isaiah Kiner Falefa, Javier Baez, which is this is recent years,
Oh,
Miles
you're
Straw,
biased.
Victor Robles, Will
Ugh,
Myers, Anthony Rendon, Angels, Anthony Rendon
yeah.
has a better April OPS than J Rod in his career.
That's encouraging, right?
That's
That's
encouraging.
encouraging.
But it's also like, what, like, dude, what do you do? Like, how, like, I understand, like, that's why baseball is so funny because,
Yeah.
like, some guys just need to get settled in.
100%. And that's, again, where it comes back down to, you know what? I'm going to postulate something. The Mariners need to add to their team in a concrete way, bro. Give him
Yeah.
a four. Listen, I love Cal Riley. But I love a lot of guys in the roster. Those guys play their asses off and they almost make it every season. Dude, get them a guy that can go out there and hit 35 homers with a
One more dude.
130, 140, OPS plus, WRC plus, whatever number you want there. Slot him in that 4 spot. I guarantee you it's going to improve the numbers of the guys around him.
They need
Julio
one
can't,
more. Yeah,
yeah, he can't feel like he's holding the weight of the world on his shoulders every
exactly.
season, man.
I think that's what it is. I think he just comes in feeling like he has to just hit a moonshot every time.
And he
Like
cares
you
so
said,
much.
they need one. Yes, no. By the way, Julio Rodriguez, on the record, is one of my favorite players in the league. I'm not hating on him.
Yeah,
I think the Mariners need to get him one more legit star. Like, like,
100%.
and they can do it. They have the abilities to do it,
They're
even
one of
though
the most profitable teams in baseball. This myth that their management
they're
can
gonna act like
propagate
they can't. Yeah,
is
they can.
insane. Insane.
Somewhat. It doesn't have to
They're
be
not the
Juan
Yankees,
Soto.
dude. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But like, come on, man.
yeah,
We got something in the tank.
yeah.
All right, so we're going to move on now because this is kind of a dense topic we're going into. We're not going to be doing any of our normal quiz stuff or
Mhm.
even like doing an immaculate grid or anything like that. We're just going to go straight into it, which is essentially going over every AL MVP winner since 2010 and tier ranking their seasons. So how we decided to go about this was we have three different tiers, S, A, and B. Listen, if you want to say that Jose Altuve's 2017 season, because of the Astros, is an F tier season, you go ahead. But I don't think we feel
That's not how I'm
comfortable.
approaching it.
We
Yeah.
don't feel comfortable ranking them on that scale, right? It's like these are elite seasons, and then these are really good seasons, and then these are good, like great seasons, but maybe a little less good than some of the other ones. So we're gonna go by those
And
three buckets.
exactly. And remember, these are MVP seasons we're talking about. This is relative to, like, if we say this was a good season, it was an amazing season, obviously, but it's a good
Yes,
season relative to the award.
relative to what these standards are, which are
Yes,
insane.
exactly.
All right. All right, dude. So we're gonna start obviously in 2010 then, right? With our,
Yeah, Mr.
friendly neighborhood drug addict Josh Hamilton.
Dude, he is such a crazy story,
Dude,
man.
he
But
really is. He's like the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and I mean that in every way I could possibly mean that. Um,
yeah, Josh Hamilton is like I feel like there's a generation of people who just missed the prime of Josh Hamilton. I think
yeah.
my
Hmm.
age, 2002 born was like I think maybe the last years who really caught prime
Yeah.
Josh Hamilton because I
Yeah.
was locked in on like I remember watching his home run derby performance when I was 6. I remember his 4 homer game in 2012. I remember his playoff runs,
Yeah.
which is
I remember when the
important.
Angels signed him.
Yeah, I do remember that on too, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
yeah, so Josh Hamilton in 2010 hit a ridiculous 359 with an OPS over 1,000 and slapped 32 homers with 100 RBI for the World Series runner-up Texas Rangers.
Yeah.
Absurd. Do you have
Absurd.
anything to add on top
100%.
of this?
Hey, well, let me throw this out there. He did it in
Yes,
119 games and had an 8.7 WAR. That's a WAR pace on the season of near 11 if he played the
yes,
full season. He played amazing defense, by the way, right? That's one of the things we never talk about with Josh Hamilton, right? Because we always think about he had that insane bat. The dude had
exactly.
7 DRS in left and 4 DRS in center. He played, and again, he gave them flexibility because he could move around. Just an insane year.
My favorite, so I remember this because I watched this because I'm a Yankee fan, by the way, which will definitely get me grilled when it comes to the topic of 2017. But so that year, even though we're talking about MVP season, so this technically doesn't count, 2010 ALCS, game 6 against the Yankees. Do you know what Josh Hamilton's stat line was in that game?
Hmm.
Just he went 1 for 1, by the way. So like, oh, it's okay, whatever. He was intentionally walked 3 times in game 6 of the ALCS. They were Barry Bondsing him.
Seriously. And I mean, if I remember correctly, he got walked to the bases loaded as well.
Um, well, at some point, I'm pretty sure he did.
Yes, not in that game. Not in that
Yeah,
game.
not in that game. Not
But at
no.
some point. So he
Yeah,
literally did get Barry Bonds in that circumstance again, too. Like his
yeah,
bat
yeah.
speed is
And
insane.
so in that series, he was intentionally walked 5 times, and they both came in the span of 2 games. Like the Yankees walked overall, the Yankees walked him like a ridiculous. Overall, the Yankees walked him. Do I have the number right? 8 times in 6 games. Like it was like they just did not want to pitch to this dude. And I don't blame him because
Seriously.
in 20 at bats in that series, he had 4 homers.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah,
That's crazy. Dude was all-time levels of productive that season. However, because he only played 119 games, me
that's a good point.
personally, I have him in A tier. I'm saving
Yes,
that S for like some of the best seasons we've ever seen. His was great, but like
yes,
you can still go back and find similar seasons relative to the different eras of MVP winners. So I'm happy putting him at A tier.
I agree. I agree. I think I feel like you said, since he didn't have the same since he didn't have the same volume, which is something I value a good amount, right? He
A
did
hundred
100,
percent. Yeah.
games. Like I feel like that's
I had
I
119. Did I get that wrong?
um maybe
Let's see.
I I don't know. Um
It's possible I was looking at a different season. Yeah, 133 games. I take it back. I apologize. It was
yeah.
133 games, not 119. However,
Still,
still.
I feel like 133 games. The numbers are crazy, but I'm gonna throw him an A tier for now. I doubt he moves.
Yeah, 100%. So we also did a little bit of different prep for this. I was thinking about going to different ways with it. So I also have these guys ranked 14 through 1 for these seasons.
Yeah.
I'll kind of do a recap at the end of kind of like how I
How
organized them
you
all.
did
But
it?
yeah, how I did it. But I put him seventh since so that
Makes
also gives
sense.
a little bit of an idea. As like he's firmly in the middle there. He definitely
Yeah.
didn't snub anybody. That's for sure.
No. Okay.
100%.
So 2011 was the last American League pitcher
Last
to
one
take.
we might see in a while as well.
Yeah, I think probably the last one for barring something crazy, a long, long
Yeah,
time.
serious. It's going to take something like Clayton Kershaw's 2014 was a great
Like,
example of something similar to that.
we're gonna need, yeah, we're gonna need the perfect storm of a non-great offensive season and some guy having a rubber arm with like, remember, because let's go into the numbers on Verlander in 2011. He threw 251 innings.
Not
So
even
just
relatable anymore.
sorry, yeah, like this was 13 years ago. He threw 251 innings. That is unheard of now. But he also had an 8.6 WAR. He had a 2.40 ERA. Threw a no hitter that year. He was just insane. That's
Let me give
prime.
the old heads their due. Okay, too.
Yes,
24 wins. Like, okay, I understand wins don't
that's
mean
crazy.
much now, but 24 wins is nuts.
That is crazy. But he also had four complete games, which is one less than Jacob DeGrom's career total. I'm pretty sure. And it was funny, and he had a whip under one. Kind of crazy.
172 ERA plus. So see, here's another
Yes.
thing too. When you're talking about numbers for guys, like Spencer Strider last year's a great example. I love Spencer Strider. Again,
Yes.
any baseball nerd loves Spencer Strider. I don't know how many times I have to say that, but regardless, Spencer Strider did what he did over like 180 innings, roughly, right? So it's
Yes.
very impressive. That's a lot of innings. Verlander put up a 172 ERA over 80 more innings. 70 more innings. That's
Mhm.
a full reliever's worth additionally on top of that. He managed to maintain that level of production. Insane. Won the pitching triple crown.
So another interesting note I'm gonna throw into here is I think, which is something I feel like should maybe affect our rankings if we
Mhm.
think about it, is who did they beat, right?
Yes, I 100% agree with you.
Okay, because
Snubs have to be appreciated.
in 2011, Jacoby Ellsbury had a career year that down the road later led to him bank robbing the New York Yankees. He had an 8.3 WAR and had 32 homers and 39 stolen bases, drove in 105, had a batted 321. Jose Batista that year had 43 bombs and an OPS over 1,000. They both had 8.3 WARs, just below Verlander's mark of 8.6. So this is interesting, right? Because I looked at other pitchers this year too.
Yeah.
And the second best pitcher in the AL that year was probably Jared Weaver.
Mhm.
He had worse stats than Verlander. He had 16 less innings, same ERA basically, but didn't have the same ERA plus. And guess what? He only won 18 games. What a loser.
What a loser.
What a loser. But yeah, so to me, I think this is more of a product of its time. I feel like if this race happened again, Ellsbury maybe would have won. Actually, no, I think the Red Sox were bad that year. So maybe Batista
Yeah.
also probably was bad. But at the same time, I think it was given to him because of the win total and the fact that
There's
the
been more of a
Tigers weren't good.
delineation since then between the two
Exactly.
awards because we haven't seen the same volume of innings, but we definitely
Yeah.
seen similar levels of production and then guys not be really considered. While I do agree with that, I also have to say that just because, first of all, it's the only pitching season on here, and even 251 innings, I know it was a different time in 2011, it still was seen as nuts back then. Like that
It
was
was. I
crazy.
was nuts.
And the volume of production over that level of or the level of production over that volume of innings, I have to put it as S tier. I actually have it ranked as my sixth best season, just above Hamilton. I know his WAR
That's
wasn't
fair.
quite as good, but you just don't see seasons like that from pitchers. And then when you add the innings, it's like, what the hell, dude?
One more note because I think this is interesting. So the what are the 2011 Red Sox known for?
The blow up,
Blowing
the
the
blow
blow
up.
up. The blow up. What isn't it known for something? Wasn't there like chicken involved? Isn't that a thing?
Oh, something was something, but
Something with
that
chicken,
last
right?
month.
There
Oh,
went so in the last month, even though the Red Sox blew up, Ellsbury didn't. He had his best month. He had no PS over 1,000. He
oh,
had
that's a bummer for him.
eight homers. So it's funny because it's kind of the David Wright thing. I know you talked about in your latest video where he kind of got snubbed out of a MVP in a way because the Mets collapsed, even though
Yep.
he was definitely the best player in the NL. Like you said, I still like now when you talk about the innings and stuff, I think Verlander definitely deserved it. Although it's always weird when you do the whole position player pitcher
Yeah,
combination when it
right.
comes to these awards. That's why the Rookie of the Year is kind of cooked. Like
Yeah.
Harris won it over Strider, but it's like I don't know. It's like Strider's one of the best pitchers in the game. Harris is one of the best rookies.
How do you value it
Exactly.
relative to what their output is? Exactly.
So to me, I think this still goes A tier.
Okay. And I can completely respect
Or
that.
I think this could move up to S out of respect later down the road, depending on how many people we have there. But for the moment, I'm gonna put it in A.
That's fine. And yes, this of course is liquid. We can move it. We can kind
Of
of
course.
rearrange. And again, like I said, we're going to obviously evaluate the whole thing at the end. And then, like I did say, he was six, just above Hamilton. Moving on to 2012,
Oh no.
one of the most controversial aging MVPs
Yes.
because and to me it represents one of the best conversations we could have in terms of what is an MVP because you have the Tigers went to the World Series. Miguel
Yes.
Cabrera won a triple crown. He had one of the best hitting seasons, one of the better hitting seasons anyway of the decade. It
Yes.
was crazy. He was not a
Yeah.
good defender.
No, I
Obviously, it
mean,
killed his WAR, got him all the way down to 7.1. Still a very impressive total. Don't get me wrong. Generally, guys who win wars around 8. But then, of course, the main narrative of this whole thing is Mike Trout, rookie Mike Trout, had tied for his best war ever, a 10.5.
yeah, he was unreal.
Did not win.
No.
What's kind of your impression of that? So for me anyway, especially I was a Tiger fan back then, big time Tiger fan back then. So I of course was rooting for Miguel to win it, right?
Of course.
My thinking at the time was kind of what the writers were saying, which is we have to appreciate the historical impact of something as monumental as the Triple Crown, especially in an era when guys are becoming more and more specialized. The batting average guys, the batting average guys, the power guys, the power guys. He managed to do
Yes.
it all. It's insane. My perspective on it now, the Triple Crown, of course, has lost lives luster for me and a lot of people specifically because of the RBI component. Like that's such a terrible stat to evaluate a hitter by.
Yes.
So in my opinion, that's kind of like sapped that a little bit. And then on top of that, one of the things that really hurt its impression in my mind was he had a better year the next year. So it's like,
Yeah, he really did. He
yeah,
really did. Like,
so I do respect that he got it. I'm not mad about it like some people are like, oh, Trout shot this many. I'm okay with him getting it, but inevitably it was kind of a snub just because that level of production was oh what at that point like 50% better. That's it's pretty good, you know?
because right, because that's the thing. Because I remember, I think a similar conversation came up when Luis Ariz was flirting with a 400 batting average in June, where it's like, does a 400 batting average? So here's my problem with a lot of these like arguments when it comes to like the Triple Crown or 400 batting average, where it's like, let's say if Miguel Cabrera was flirting with the Triple Crown all season, right? And let's say the final day of the season he lost it.
If he doesn't win the MVP, I don't think he would win it.
Exactly. But if so, like I feel like if something is that fragile, it's really hard to make that
Yes.
argument. It's like how, for example, like if let's say hypothetically Luis Ariz batted 400, but like his overall numbers weren't great, right? Where it's like he still only had like only had like a 6 WAR because defense wasn't there and he had no pop. If he batted 399, would he win that award? Like that's kind of my problem with that whole like when
The
the whole
threshold argument.
yeah, like because it's like if it's that fragile, like if it's when it's based on how like another player overtaking it or them basically falling one short, that breaks
Yeah,
everything. That's when
100%.
I don't know, especially when Trout was that good. However, I don't necessarily think it's a robbery out of respect for the game and the history of the game,
Yeah.
but I do think it's I do think it's a product. I think it's going to be something that gets talked about for a
And it
long
is
time.
will age worse and worse, especially with Trout. Like the arc that was coming into his career, coming into this season specifically, where it's like, oh, we're not going to see MVP Trout again. So he's probably like a bit crystallized in terms of the MVPs he's going to win.
Could
To
have had
think
four,
that
yeah.
some of them were like ripped from him,
Could have
kind
a
of,
lot. Could have been a
yeah,
lot. Like we're gonna
kind that,
talk about that a lot. Like I think that's so like it's that's the thing. It's like to win the MVP in the 2000s, you had to beat Trout.
yeah,
How many guys actually beat Trout? That's the thing. Like we're gonna
yeah.
see a few guys where they didn't really beat Trout. It was more just like, yeah, we can't give this to this guy again.
Again, exactly.
There's
But
there's one guy who really did, but
exactly.
we'll get into that later. But
But I will say,
I don't know.
with Trout's reemergence this year, I think the narrative is again shifting a little bit. I mean, dude, I'm running a poll today where it's like who's going to have the most home runs throughout the rest of the season, and I put Trout as one of the options. And the overall sentiment is he's going to have a crazy year this year.
That
People aren't
nothing would make me
banking on another
happier.
injury.
That nothing would make me happier than Trout having a 50 homer season.
100%. I personally, Miguel Cabrera's 2012. I I'm gonna put it. What do you think? B tier, A tier? To me, it's on the threshold of B and A, just because again, 7 point WAR is good. One WAR is good. There are like what four guys above that last year in
Yeah.
baseball. Like, and
Out
the
of res
fielding was terrible. Like, you
That's the thing,
can't.
because even we're doing it right now, where it's like I'm like, oh, S, because you won the Triple Crown, but it's like that's all. Like, not that's all. That's an
Right,
absurd
it's absurd
accomplishment.
at the highest level of the game, but. And I know you don't want to overvalue WAR either, right? But again, he had a
Exactly.
better year the next year is another huge factor of this for me, where it's like, what? How do I rate these seasons relative to each other? And again, his will
He
say I'll
really
give
did
him a
have a
little
better year the next year too. That's crazy.
yeah, I'll give him a little respect. His fielding wasn't as bad as it was in 2013.
Yes.
He was bad, but not the worst. I'm personally I'm gonna put him in A tier. I gotta
Okay.
appreciate the all timeness of a triple crown. It is insane. I get
Yeah,
the
I wouldn't
RBI
put it B.
component.
Yeah, that's my respect for the Triple Crown has it not going in B. I think
Exactly.
because like looking ahead, I feel like there's a few I will throw in B. Like I know which ones I will.
Exactly. And it's like, hey, we had 14, right? We had 14 guys we're evaluating. I have this season at 10th. 10th best since the 2010
Oh
season.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I still think we did kind of knock it down a peg without like having to disrespect it. I'm happy with it in A
Well
tier
done.
and 10th out of those 14.
Yes.
Well, we follow
20.
it up. We've done so much talking about it already, right? Just
Yeah, I think the thing
2013.
is, I think we literally put it for me, like Miguel Cabrera won the Triple Crown in 2012 with a 330 average, 139 RBI, and 44 homers. In 2013, Miguel Cabrera hit 348 with 44 homers and 137 RBI. Now, here's the thing. Those numbers, he had a better average, same amount of homers, two less RBIs. But Miguel Cabrera led the league in a maybe a more important thing where he had the best slash line in the AL.
Yeah.
He led
348,
in everything.
442, 636. That the
In
triple
everything.
crown, triple slash.
He had the Triple Crown
Insane.
triple slash. Listen, like
And again,
that's
his fielding was worse.
absurd.
His fielding was worse,
Yeah.
but his WAR was higher at 7.5, and he played less games.
Which is funny. It's funny. It's just funny because he literally had the same season, but like no one.
It's a little better, but you know what really hurt him, relatively speaking, was of course the emergence of Chris Davis. If it wasn't for Chris Davis, he would have had another triple crown season. But Chris Davis that
Yeah,
year was insano and set the all-time record for home runs before the All-Star break and ended up with over 50. So that's what ended up knocking it down a little bit. At the time, it still was a big deal. He won the MVP, right? Tigers were good
yeah.
again, made it all the way to the sixth game of the ALCS. They should have won it, man. I have so many thoughts on that. My child brain accumulated so many theories about baseball, being like, just
Question,
upgrade the bullpen.
question,
Oh,
quick
yeah.
question though. How many did Anibal Sanchez walk in his no-hit performance against the Red Sox?
Six, I think.
A dumb amount. Like it was like he
Yeah,
walked.
way
I remember
more than you'd think.
like eight. I think he walked like eight batters, but like tossed
Might have
six
been.
no-hit innings. And I think the Red Sox maybe still won that game. Like
They
that's
ended up pulling that one out, and they blew two different games on grand
Oh,
slams in the seventh inning or later. And it
oh
was, again,
yes,
because of the
crazy
bullpen that was so
series.
predictably bad. That was the thing that was most frustrating. Again, just want a little rant here. As a Tigers fan from the 2010s, was it was the perfect encapsulation of everything you hate about corporate culture in baseball, where it's like, let's get more offense. The fans love offense. We can't win games unless you have good guys at the back end of the bullpen. We cannot have Octavio Dotel going out there and throwing in the late innings. We can't
It's like
have
Joaquin Benoit on that team? Am
he
I making up
was,
a
and I
name? Am
love.
I
He
making
was
up a
great.
name?
No, Joaquin Benoit wasn't, and he was really good. But you know what? If they would have went out there and got one crazy
Dude,
reliever, it would have been over. They would have won. They didn't even have a. They had a closer by committee for a large portion of the season.
that's crazy.
Just tough. But either way, relatively speaking, I think his season in 2013. I have to say, because again, we're comparing it
It
to
was
the other
better.
seasons
Yeah.
than the other guys on this list. I have to keep it at A tier.
Yes.
Maybe the
Yeah.
best hitting season of like that 5 year window of 2010 through 2015, pure hitting season. But you have to appreciate baseball as a game that you play. First of all, over 162, we missed some games, but then also, dude, his defense at third base was like disastrously bad. It was -17 DRS. Like he was actively hurting his team and again, he was injured. I'm not putting this on him, but every game he was out there on defense, he was actively hurting his team. That has to be
Yeah.
appreciated.
Yeah. I think that's a fair. I think that's I agree. I think it should be A tier. And what's funny about that, even though we've thrown everything in A tier so far, our next one is so funny because like
Yeah.
Mike Trout in his worst season unanimously wins the MVP.
Yeah. Kind of a weird year for baseball. Like the overall offense in the American League wasn't that great, especially relative to the couple years before. By the way, I didn't want to say I put Cabrera's 2013 as my ninth best season. So those two
Okay.
seasons back to back, they're back to back in the rankings too, and for the same exact reasons, with his just being a little better. But yeah, going to Trout, it was the same thing. Where it's like for it almost qualifies as boring, right? Where it's like 7.7 WAR. That's
Like it was
crazy. Most
it's a bad
players
year for him.
at that point, that peak in his career, 287, 377, 561. It's crazy. It's amazing. But it's also not Mike Trout. When I think of Mike Trout is I think of the 600 plus slugging. I think of the 400 plus on base. I think of an around 300 batting average. I think of 40 plus homers. He had 36
Mhm.
homers. Still an impressive year. Again, his fielding that season was like pretty decent in center field as well. But again, not his
Yes.
best season, even fielding wise. For me, I personally, now this one might be controversial, okay? But because I know he had a higher WAR than Miguel. He had a higher WAR than Miguel both seasons. I have this season in B tier because
So do I.
it's
So
his
do I.
most
Yeah.
boring season.
Which
And
is
again,
which is why I said it was hilarious
yeah,
because it's so bad. It's like it's a bad Mike Trout season and he ran away with the MVP. But before we move off this one, I need because this is one of my like this is as to be cringe, like this is my Roman Empire. 2014 Victor Martinez is so awesome, and I wanted to talk about something real quick. So that year, Victor Martinez, as you have in front of you, batted 335 with a 409 on base percentage, led the American League in OPS at 974. Okay, how many times off the top of your head? Tell me how many times Victor Martinez struck out that year.
wasn't something crazy like 35 or like 40 or something like that?
He struck out 42 times. He had 32 homers. Imagine. Could you like don't you think about how crazy that is? Having the pop to hit 32 homers while striking out 42 times in 2014. Yeah, in the 50s, everyone did that. Your
Right,
grandpa probably
right.
did that for you
Yeah.
didn't realize. But we're talking about 2014. I think since 2000, I think the only other guy who had similar numbers to that was Barry Bonds. But he was walked every single time. Like
Exactly.
Victor
Yeah. It's
Martinez,
not even comparable.
Martinez only walked 70 times that year. Do you know what he was one of the best two strike hitters that year that we've ever seen. He had a 264 OPS plus in two strike counts. He batted 333. Sorry, 337 with two strikes.
That's better than his all, by the way, his overall batting average is 335. Led the
Yeah,
league in on base, led the league in OPS, had a 172 OPS plus, which somehow was still worse than Trout, by the way. I mean,
dude,
that's nuts, but still.
Victor Martinez was 164% better than the average hitter with two strikes. Absolute hitting machine.
Absolute hitting machine. I was slightly
Yeah.
better than Trout at 169. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll give you.
I just wanted to throw that out there.
Also, Trout's worst season by strikeouts. And I mean, hey, listen, he had a 5.5 WAR. He's a DH. Not saying he deserved it, but that season deserves a shout out. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Um,
And yeah, we agree B tier. I have him at 11 for this season, slightly worse than both of Cabrera's seasons. Again, the WAR is a little better, but that's what we are kind of talking about, where it's like WAR is a great tool, but you can't just throw everything up to it. If you're asking me, would I rather have Miguel Cabrera from 2013, 2012, 2012, 2013, or Mike Trout from 2014 on my team hitting, on my team
yeah.
playing? That specific iteration of Mike Trout, I'd probably take Miguel at that point, just because it was
Yes.
so elite. So
That's fair.
I have him at 11.
Our next one is very goofy.
Very goofy,
Yeah, this
exceptionally
one.
goofy. This
Yeah,
one,
wait, is this 14th
yeah,
for you?
this is 13th for me because of the COVID season.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah, to
okay.
me, it kind of
Okay.
didn't count low key, but yeah, this
Yeah,
was
I
the
mean,
worst one for any full season.
okay. Josh Donaldson in 2015 won the MVP award. And not to, I know we just kind of hated, but we're not like he was awesome that
It was
year.
amazing. 7.1 B WAR, had 40 homers.
He batted 297, 151 OPS plus, and he drove in 123 while scoring 122 times.
Yeah,
Awesome year.
awesome year.
However, Mike Trout somehow does Mike Trout things again and gets
Yeah.
out overshined because that was the real breakout year of Toronto, where that was like that was the year where like like there were it was an aura pick. Josh
Yes.
Donaldson, Bringer of Rain aura. Aura won him the award by a big margin, even though Trout was literally better in like
By
every
every
single
stat.
way.
Like the thing is, this is the thing that I
Yeah.
hated about that year. Counting stats wise, Trout was comparable in everything but RBIs.
Yeah,
And it was better in multiple things. Slugging,
way
590.
better. Like,
OPS, 991. OPS plus, 176. That's 20 points above where Donaldson was.
yeah.
Like, it was one of his best seasons. It was actually like, yeah, by the MVP peripherals, probably his best season up to that point relative to the era, because he did have 41 homers. We can look back now and say 2012 was better, but regardless, 9.6 WAR, had a 1.3 D WAR that year, by the way, in center
Yeah,
field. Like,
dude, like
that's crazy.
but no,
Dude had an
it's
insane year.
that's just such a funny like this one. This is where you start to feel bad for Mike Trout in a way
Yeah,
because
because that's two that he probably deserved, but one
that's
that
two.
he definitely
Yeah,
deserved.
like for me, the Triple Crown thing is like whatever historical significance, but this is the same thing. Donaldson had a 7.1 WAR, which is what Miggy had when he won the Triple Crown, and Trout had a 9.6. And
And
when
he didn't
I'm
win the Triple Crown. Donaldson
yeah,
did
no,
not
not
win the
even
Triple Crown.
close. Yeah, no,
So
I'm
that
sorry.
you're
Yeah,
right.
that's
That was I like the term aura pick. That was definitely that they were
it's
giving
an aura pick.
another. They were actually giving kind of the only award they could to the Blue Jays,
Yeah.
which is kind of a bummer. I understand growing the game in Canada and all that, but at the end of the day, yeah, that's why it's 13th for me. Like I said, out of those 14, and hey, Jose Abreu, we'll get to you eventually. Not hating on that season, but it's like it was what 50 games. Like it's not even comparable. So yeah,
Exactly.
Josh Donaldson, second worst, and the snub is huge for me. I don't like snubs. It's hard to then look at that season with a large amount of fondness, which we'll get to another like big snub coming up here. But moving on to 2016. I think that we have, with 2016, we have one of our kind of like undoubtedly S tier seasons.
Yes.
10.5 WAR for Trout, all time high for WAR, tied with his rookie season. 315, 441. Those are his batting average on base. Crazy.
Yes.
550 slash, still impressive. He only hit 29 homers. Only hit 29 homers.
Yes, but
Stole 30 bases, by the way, which got him back up. He would kind of decline a little bit in stolen bases, got him back up. League leading 173 OPS plus, and in center, 6 DRS. It was just like the most Mike Trout season you could have at that time,
yeah,
where it's like he did everything elite, and it fed into overall the best numerical season of his career.
yeah. And the funny thing is, he still didn't win this unanimously
Yeah,
because
didn't run
there was
away.
another player there who is who's going to be relevant in a bit here, where they kind of they kind of did the same thing 2 years later, where they both had like historically sensational seasons.
Yeah,
But Trout here, I mean, this is quintessential Trout.
quintessential Trout.
Yeah, 10 and
100%.
a half WAR, led the league in runs. Like you said, he almost had a 30-30 season.
How much can you gush, right? It turns into something where even
Exactly.
like we're kind of almost
Yeah.
glossing over.
We're going through the motions. We're going through the
Exactly.
motions because that's how good Mike Trout is, that it's boring.
Exactly, dude. I had this ranked fifth out of 14, which is
Okay.
crazy. It's his highest MVP season. What's funny is that he would have probably had a higher ranking if he'd actually won where he should have for other seasons.
Yeah.
But 2016 is his fifth best season. That's our first S tier, undoubtedly, right?
Yes. And now, so we're done with the boring.
We're done with the
So
boring, sadly.
now let's have fun
Let's
with
have some
some
controversy here with our
controversy.
2017.
Dude, oh my God.
So
This
Jose
sounds
Altuve, let's give him his due. Jose Altuve was one of the best players in baseball. He was great that season. Believe
yes.
me. He had a 160 OPS plus, especially for a guy like, not to degrade any of our short kings out there, but especially for a guy who's of his stature,
No, that's
24
really
homers,
important. Yeah.
39 doubles, 346, 410, 547. Pretty insane. Like again, I would not have been mad with him being top 3 at all. Dude had
Yes.
58 walks to 84 strikeouts. In modern era, it's insane. His fourth straight season with over 200 hits. Again,
Yes.
modern era, absolutely crazy. We have to appreciate that. However,
Mhm.
his overall WAR that season, 7.7. That's actually higher than some of the guys that we have on our list for MVP. That one that we were right. I mean, that we were kind of disparaging a little bit.
Exactly.
Still
Exactly.
insane season. Okay. Aaron Judge had a WAR of 8 in his rookie season, led the majors, by the way. In his rookie season, he hit 52 home runs, which was the
Yes.
first time that anyone had hit over 50 home runs in a minute in the American League since I think Bautista. Walked 127 times, had a thousand OPS, 1,049 OPS,
Yes, he did.
171 OPS plus as a rookie. If you want to get into the numbers with like the counting stats, whatever, dude. I mean, whatever. 128 runs, 114 RBI. Yeah, I struck out 208 times. Who cares? This is the modern era. We don't give a crap about that. 627 slug. You can go on and on. He deserved it.
Okay. Yes. I'm a Yankees fan, so I feel like I can give I feel and which when I
You can
say
give
that
the yeah.
no. Here's the thing. I'm gonna say this. I'm a Yankees fan, just so what I'm gonna say maybe makes you like me more.
Yeah.
Because 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 he, the thing that annoys me about this season is the revisionist history about it.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. While I think Judge should have won it, but the big issue, I think the narrative kind of becomes, well, Altuve stole the award, right?
Right.
Because there's cheating and whatever. But my problem with that is that whole thing overshadows why Judge didn't win the award. Judge didn't win that award because he had one of the nastiest slumps that any of these guys in this list did not have, and no one talks about it when they talk about this season. Aaron Judge had a 50 game stretch from the second in his first 50 games of the second half of 2022. Oh, sorry. No. It's in his first 50 games of the second half of 2017, his rookie year. Aaron Judge batted 185, had 9 homers, and had an OPS of 722. Now, here's the thing. Before that, going in the first half of that season, he was batting 329 with an OPS over 1100 and had 30 homers,
Yeah.
right? Okay, but here's the thing. Look at optics. Aaron Judge for 50 games wasn't good. No, he was
Yeah.
fine.
Right.
But
Not
a
MVP levels.
185 average, 9 homers, 722 OPS over 50 games? That's 2 months.
Yeah.
He wasn't good. It was the second half of the season. It was after his legendary home run derby performance. So I think I think the more interesting conversation about this season is like, how do I word this? It's how, for example, let's say if a player had like the greatest month or the greatest month and a half in MLB history and then tailed off significantly, but still had the best WAR at the end of the season, do you crown him MVP off those month and a half? Or I know that's not what Judge did,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, like,
Yes, I agree with you. The
I feel
conversation
like
becomes how do you lose an MVP,
that's the thing.
right?
I feel like since Judge had that whack 50 game span, and the numbers are close, like you said, the war is only point 0.3 off. And
Yeah,
to me,
that's within a margin of error.
any war difference under like point 0.5, I don't even consider. Like,
Yeah,
I'm just like, whatever. So
100%.
that's why I don't think Altuve stole the award. Listen, like, did he benefit from sign stealing even though he didn't participate? For sure. However, I feel like only focusing on that ignores the fact that Judge lost that award by going through a rookie slump that was 2 months long.
100%. Completely get where you're coming from. I completely get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I
So
do think,
again,
yeah, the optics, especially at a time when the Astros were winning the World Series. Like
and they
when
were
you, and
liked.
they were moving, exactly. They were moving in that direction. They were seen as like the team that they're doing it right, right? They're tanking, they're moving out of their tank. Everybody appreciated that from them. And again, the MVP happens obviously before the season ends, but the Astros had moved into that position as like the new young team. They were obviously going to take on the Yankees. They were yet to take on the Yankees, but they were end up taking on the Yankees in the postseason. That obviously, yeah, all that PR was going good. On top of the fact that again, Altuve's 5'6", that factored in there, where it's like
Yeah.
everyone wanted to see this amazing story translated into an MVP war, especially because again, it's like this is a rookie versus a guy who's like, in his at this point, like, mid to later 20s. It's like he's probably not gonna get up to the levels that Aaron Judge will in the future. His best chance probably at winning an MVP.
He's
I
betting
understand.
400 right now, but
Exactly, exactly. Oh, yeah,
he's
that's a good
betting.
point. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
he's
good
betting
point.
400 right now, Altuve, by the way.
100%. So he's, believe me, he made great sense.
Hall of Famer.
All of that um was working in his favor. You kind of turn me on a little bit where it's like I see it as a little bit less of a steal. I will say this. We have to appreciate some threshold numbers relative to other ones. I think numbers
Yes.
like runs and RBI, those are all stupid. But one of the things that people kind of left out, excuse me, just because I think there's still a little bit of post-steroid involvement with home runs where people don't appreciate huge volumes of home runs the way they used to
Yes.
pre-steroids. 52 home runs as a rookie was the record. It's absolutely crazy. And
Yes.
when you were putting that up with the slash of 284, 422, 627, and you're also playing decent defense, like he was a good right
Of course.
fielder, in my opinion. I think he deserved it. Regardless, we're still talking about our rankings here. I have him in B tier. Like
Yeah. Yeah. That's
I
fair.
I don't really see him leapfrogging somebody like Trout or even like Cabrera to like get into that A tier
Like you
conversation.
said, because like you said, for example, I think Judge should have won the award. However, I just wanted to make that clear that the narrative I feel like at the time still was that Judge's second half slump was so bad. Like he heated up in September, which flipped, makes the half splits not look as bad. But
Yeah.
when you bat under 200 for 50 games with a pretty mid OPS
Yeah.
in the midst of an MVP season, like that does not look good. I still would have voted for him if I had the chance. However, like you said, I think since the competition was so stiff and there is some controversy surrounding it,
You have to throw it in there. You have to
has
talk
to be
about
B.
it. You have to talk about it.
You have to talk about it at the
Sadly.
minimum
And I don't think he benefited from it, or at least didn't benefit significantly to the levels
directly.
that he like shouldn't have won the MVP. Like that should have been a factor in the MVP voting. But
Yeah.
regardless,
Also shout out Jose Ramirez for hitting 56 doubles that year.
yeah, seriously,
Favorite
again,
player
like
ever.
I
So I love.
love numbers like that.
Yeah.
Seriously, where it's like just like he randomly hit 56. Freddie Freeman, I love his 59 double season from a couple of years ago. Oh, dude, doubles are great stuff. By the way,
Doubles are awesome.
underrated. Okay, anyway.
2018. Oh my God.
To me, this is a perfect encapsulation of it was just Mike Trout's 2016 season leveled up. It was all the things he did great that year, just a little bit better. Like,
What's crazy, yeah, but like, so what I mentioned before was how like to win the MVP, or sorry, to really compete for the MVP in the 2010s, you weren't competing with the American League. You were competing with Mike Trout. And
yes.
head to head, although a few players got MVP awards, I think it's like boxing where it was kind of like a suspect decision. Was it a
Right.
robbery? Right? Like, like, oh, like maybe, but I feel like Trout got the rounds there. Like, for
Exactly.
example, the Triple Crown with Miguel Cabrera, we talked about that already. The next year, whatever. Donaldson, robber.
Yeah. Bravo.
This,
Robert.
like, 2017, he was hurt, so it was different. But
Yeah.
Mookie Betts was the first player to undoubtedly beat Mike Trout in a season
And deserve it.
and deserved it. He beat Mike Trout. That was the first time it happened. Again, this one also has some sign stealing stuff attached to it,
Yeah.
which I'm not as familiar with because the media didn't hop on it as much.
Yeah. For me personally, like because it never has
Because
been
I don't hold it against
exposed that
Altuve.
much. Right. And I don't hold
Yeah,
it against bets either. I mean, if I'm gonna
exactly. 'Cause I
listen,
don't hold it
listen,
against Altuve.
I have bets on this ranking. By the way, I had Altuve at I think 12th. Yeah, I had him at 12th. I have bets at fourth. Like I
Fourth.
still, yeah, I wouldn't have it in my top three, and I'll explain that why. But either way,
Interesting.
that's a little bit of it. Honestly, I was gonna bring that up that it's like the controversy kind of like a little bit takes away from the season. Also,
Okay.
just the all timeness of Shohei Ohtani and then Aaron Judge. We'll talk about that. But either way, regardless,
Oh, yeah, duh. Sorry. Yeah, no,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Right. Okay, yeah.
But still, we have to appreciate 10.7 more, the most of anybody
In
since 2010
136
for the
games.
MVPs. I think period. So I'll just throw that out there. But like 346, 438, 640 first slash.
640. 640. That's the number.
As
640
as a
slugged.
leadoff hitter,
As a
32
five foot
homers,
nine leadoff hitter.
32 homers, 30 steals, 18 DRS in
Yes.
the outfield.
So I made a video on this one time, and my tagline on it is this was the best pound for pound season ever. Which what I mean by that is we're looking at a guy who was the best at everything. He was an elite base runner. He was an elite fielder, and he had a 180 OPS plus. Oh, and by the way, he's only 5'9" and 180 pounds in the year 2018.
Just crazy.
That was it. And
Just
listen, I love Mookie Betts so much. I feel like talent wise, outside of a certain Japanese unicorn, I don't think there's anyone really with the baseball talent he has is so absurd with the
it's right up there with Judge, Trout. When we're
anyone.
talking about the most talented, Acuna, like the most
Yeah,
talented players. And he might be
exactly.
a more complete player than any of those guys. Again,
The
besides the Japanese unicorn.
yeah, the positional versatility, the ability to
Yeah,
hit for
that's a great factor
power
now. Back
and
then,
average,
right field, a little bit of center field, but still.
play discipline, everything. Like he ticks every box. I mean, some people are like, well, actually,
Yeah.
he doesn't hit great in the postseason. I'm like, okay, I get it.
This is a
Okay.
regular
We're
season
not
award.
talking about
But out.
the regular season. but no, 2018 Mookie Betts. And that team was so crazy too that Mookie Betts didn't have the greatest postseason and they slaughtered everyone. So
Slaughtered everyone. All
yeah.
right, hey, let me just say this. 2018, Mookie Betts, amazing season. 2024, Mookie Betts, one hit in the postseason. No, okay. All right. That's my only comment. That's my only comment. Okay. That's my only comment. Okay. So we're moving on to 2019. Another
Dude.
boring Mike Trout
Yeah.
season. In my opinion, it was like a little bit below his 2016, largely
It's a
because
weird year
he
though.
missed his like a huge amount of games. At that point, I think it was the largest amount of games he had missed in a season. He had 134 games played. Again, amazing production. 182 OPS plus, 7.9 WAR, over 134 is like near 9 for a full season. But in my opinion, he's had better to level, even like production wise, like on a rate basis. So I probably would have this in A tier. I wouldn't quite sneak it into S tier. Maybe that's a little bit of Trout like bias coming in, but
Oh wait.
yeah,
Wait, sorry. By the way, we threw bets in S tier.
yeah, that's easy
Yeah,
S tier, in
obviously.
my opinion. Yeah,
Obviously. Like I thought that. I just wanted to make sure. 20, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to make that clear.
100%.
Trout was robbed of a 50 homer season this year by injuries,
He
and that
was.
makes me sad. But he's
If
gonna
he
have one
played
this
a
year.
full season, it'd have been higher. That's for sure.
Yeah. Did so this one I think is A,
Yeah, I agree.
but I think it could have an argument to be No, I think it's solidly at A because I just, no, the OPS number is kind of ridiculous. It's A, but Alex Bregman, man,
He really
almost
had a
stole.
great season.
He had it. He really had it. It's just Mike Trout. You can't compete. You can't do it,
Dude,
man.
you know what I
He's
love? You know what I love?
hard.
The uniformity of Judge's performance across all of the recent changes in baseball. Juice ball era Mike Trout, amazing. Pre-juice ball era Mike Trout, amazing. Post juice ball era Mike Trout, amazing. Like anything you throw at Trout, he's gonna turn it around and he's gonna come back and he's gonna throw out 1,000 OPS, even if you injure him. Right? Last year was his worst year. Still had a 130 OPS plus. Bregman,
Yeah.
sadly, definitely was a juice ball merchant. Has not had over 30 homers in a season since. Hasn't had over 25. Last year was his
Yeah.
most since
Bregman.
then.
Okay. And I want to point this out because it's going to come up again 2 more times. This is the beginning of the sensation I like to call odd numbered year Marcus Semien. So Marcus Semien this year at 8.5 WAR, played every single game and slapped 33 homers. Now, and just keep that in mind, 2 years from now when we talk about it.
100%, dude. You finished third in MVP. Like
Yeah.
always. Like, I get every odd year. Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about it more. Anyway,
No,
I have this out of the 14. I have it at eighth. I have it just
yes, I think
below
that's, yeah.
Hamilton. I think Hamilton's pace, he had an 8.7 in roughly the same games. Trout had a 7.9. Also, he had the obviously gaudy 359 average. So I think, again, yeah, for a Mike Trout season, it was mid. His MVP season, it was mid for his MVP. But anyway,
Mhm.
that of course says a lot about how good Mike Trout is. But regardless,
Exactly. It's funny because he really only wins it when it's kind of mid. But
okay.
2020, the most.
Throw up a timer right now, okay, of
Okay.
30 seconds, and
Okay.
then we'll be done with this conversation. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
But
I'm gonna do it, but it's Jose Ramirez has had as many RBIs games played. He had 19 homers in 60 games. He had a 3 WAR, impressive, but it was a shortened season. And the fact that did I say Ramirez? I'm gonna Abreu.
yeah,
Jose, Jose Abreu is a fantastic baseball player, but if he's winning an MVP, it's cooked.
it's cooked. It's cooked. There's no way. I mean, hey, listen, Freeman won an MVP. Probably didn't deserve it. I probably would have given it to Juan Soto. I know he had some less, like he didn't have quite the amount of games played that Freeman
Yeah.
did. But in a shortened season, does that really matter? Again, you're
DJ
right.
LeMahieu. Sorry, I feel like
Good.
DJ LeMahieu could have won this award too.
And there's that's the thing
Like
that's so crazy about that kind of
DJ
season.
batted 364 with an OPS of 10. Listen, I think he won it. Like as many RBIs games played is kind of ridiculous, even though we talk about that. Like
Yeah.
like it's so funny that like I think one of the funny things about this too is that we're talking about a season where Angels Anthony Rendon finished 10th in MVP voting.
He was just as good, roughly speaking, as 2019 Anthony Rendon. Like,
Beast.
everyone was like, "Hey, listen, this guy, he's worth it. He's worth the contract."
In my opinion, I have nothing to justify this, but out of love and respect, I would have given this award to J Ram just so we can say we
Yeah,
gave him one for
seriously,
the
dude.
just so we
All
can
that
say we did it.
100%, dude. I want to bring up one last thing about Jose
Yes.
Abreu. Okay, again, the conversation about 2020 is a very short conversation, but hey, listen, this guy. We were talking enough about the monster that was rookie Jose Abreu. Had a
That's so true.
173 OPS plus, 581 slugging, 36 bombs, 317, 383, 581 slash,
That's so
964
true.
OPS. His best season over a full
Every
season. His
time,
best season.
every time I open up his page, I always get shocked by that. I'm like, damn.
He
That's
finished
a
fourth in MVP voting.
I
First
think
season.
yeah. I definitely feel like we don't talk about that enough. And
Seriously.
yeah.
But giving him his due, I appreciate him. I love the guy. I really want him to like do well again. I want him to finish up his career on a good note. He's 14th out of 14, just because again, it's like how could I properly rank this season? If you went out there and blasted 40 homers in 60 games, like it's 60
Exactly.
games, like okay, that would probably be higher, but still, regardless. It's a very small stretch. That's his B tier for me. 14 out of 14. Hard to consider.
Moving on.
Moving on to 2021.
Yeah,
Top
which
three
is
season for me. Top
yes,
three
yeah.
season of MVP. Again, 8.9 WAR is crazy. It's not up to the level of some of these other guys. We're just talking about purely WAR totals. But again, I
Yeah.
think that if you want to have an old-timey baseball fan come in this podcast and say, hey, listen, all you guys do is talk about WAR and your OPSs and your blah, blah, all this stuff. Listen, what Shohei Ohtani did in 2021, no one had ever done before, right? And only he's done it since. And more than likely, only he will do it for the next long time, right? Hopefully Brendan McKay can start building up to a level where he can.
I can't wait for
do something decent.
Mid two-way players.
Mid two-way players will be amazing. But regardless, this season, so for people who've kind of gotten numb to the Shohei thing, because the Shohei thing has become insane. Top three hitter in the AL, 46 homers, 156 OPS plus, league leading 8 triples. No one talks about that. League leading 8 triples, 26 steals, while having a 3.18 ERA, 141 ERA plus, and 11 Ks per nine, basically. Over 155 total games played. I know we didn't throw them like a crazy amount of innings that season.
130 is good amount.
130 for a two-way player. It's pretty decent, you know.
In today's game.
But 155 total games. Like, he was in there every day hitting.
Yeah.
I think never been done.
Gotta throw this out there because we just talked about it. Look who's in third place in voting, Mr. Marcus Semien.
Mr. Marcus Semien.
Who played every game and hit 45 homers.
Dude.
Marcus Semien?
45. There's only a second season with over 30. Yeah, only second season with over 30 homers for him. Won a Gold Glove, by the way.
Gold Glove, by the way. 45 homers for Marcus Semien?
By the way, I want to appreciate something about Marcus Semien. Okay. 2019, he played 162 games. 2021, he played 162 games. 2022, he slacked off. Took a day off. 162 games.
Down here. That's why.
Down here. Terrible. 2023, 162 games. The dude does not take a day off. Ever.
We love it. That's what we need. But guess what? He takes seasons off.
He takes seasons off.
Every odd year. Every even year, he takes off.
Yeah. But still, the Ohtani, I have it ranked third. I have it above Betts. Go argue with the wall. I know the WAR difference is, you know, I get the WAR difference. But at the end of the day, we come back to the conversation of who would you rather have on your team. I would pick Shohei Ohtani from 2021 over Mookie Betts from 2018 every time. I'd have to.
Yeah.
He's two players.
Yes.
Exactly.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Can we set a timer for 2022 as well? Because I feel like it's the easiest.
This is S tier, by the way, right? S tier for
Ohtani?
Ohtani, yeah. He sneaks into S tier, right?
Sneaks into S tier. Speaking of crashing into S tier, 2022 Aaron Judge is the best season we have seen post Barry Bonds.
And you know what? I wouldn't even want to set a timer because I gotta talk about this thing. People don't give the credit.
People disrespect him so much.
Ohtani should have won it. Listen, I understand.
No.
Oh, listen, you just heard what I said, right? Ohtani's doing things no one's ever done before.
Yes.
I understand. But when it comes down to it, we have to appreciate baseball greatness. And in a way, I kind of love that it was baseball greatness in its conventional form. It showed that you still can beat someone like Shohei Ohtani if you have a season like this. To be 11, 425. Get ready for it. Right? Are you ready? You're sitting down. 686 over a full season. A 1-1-1 OPS.
Yeah.
The quadruple 1 OPS. OPS plus of 210. First guy to do it since Barry Bonds.
Barry Bonds,
Mr. Juiced Muscle Merchant himself, right? Balanced breakfast Barry Bonds.
Balanced breakfast connoisseur.
Exactly.
Balanced breakfast Barry.
And listen, I don't know why people can't wrap their heads around this. 62 home runs. He broke the AL record that had been held for half a century. Again, we can talk about the all-time record, Barry Bonds, 73, all the steroids, blah, blah, blah. Again, I get it. The AL record still stood because no one had done it in the AL because Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, all those guys were NL.
Yes. So
he broke the record. 62 home runs. One season. Come on, man.
Two things. One, Aaron Judge gets disrespected a lot because he's a Yankee. And I know this is going to sound like me bitching and complaining. I get it. No, I get it. We're spoiled brats, and we are 100% spoiled brats. However, I will die on this hill. The takes about Aaron Judge are absurd. Especially when it comes to Ronald Acuna Jr.'s 2023 season. They're not close.
They're not close. But again, I love Ronald Acuna Jr.
Yes.
But if he was in the same league as Aaron Judge in 2022, in terms of they both played in AL,
yes,
I wouldn't have given a single, if I had 20 votes and I had the ability to spread that across 20 different people, and then they all asked me what I thought, I would say vote for Aaron Judge twice. Like this
Dude.
season, 10 and a half WAR. So again, let's appreciate a 10 plus WAR season from a guy who's 6'7" and in right field.
And by the way, a thing that gets underrated is he stole 16 bases at 6'7" and 280 pounds. The only other player to do that was Adam Dunn when he was a rookie. And but here's the problem.
Rowan's base stealer,
But
Adam
here's the
Dunn.
problem. But here's the problem. That's based off his listed weight at a later date. So Judge is probably the biggest dude to ever steal 16 bases in a season. And by the way, yeah, he had 62 homers that year. So we're going to make a new base stealing group 40-70 club, Acuna. Yeah, try 60-15 club.
Seriously, and dude,
Like,
10.5 WAR second to on this list to Betts, right? Second,
yes.
tied for second with Trout. So it's not like you can even say, oh, but he could do everything. He had a complete season. And then he also had the best hitting season since Barry.
But here's the thing. So that's Baseball Reference WAR.
Yeah.
On Fangraphs, that's an 11.2 F WAR, and Betts that year is at 10.2. So if you average out the two, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing about WAR, right? If we want to, like, I would never make rankings just on WAR.
Yeah, because you see, my favorite type of WAR is the one that obviously
reinforces my narrative. Exactly.
It's my narrative. So no, but all jokes aside, like, first off, I was there in attendance for the home run chase, like many times. I was obviously I live near the stadium. I was there when Judge hit his 60th homer.
Yeah.
My girlfriend does not know anything about baseball. She's European. She has the most beautiful, I'll send it to you. Maybe we can like
100%.
She has the most beautiful video of Judge's 60th homer because she didn't know what was going on. So it's pristine still. Right. I'll show it to you. It's absurd. I was screaming. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Because like I was there for the home run chase. It was beautiful. So I'm emotionally attached to this season, even though it ended disgustingly. But it's a regular season conversation. This is the best MVP season in the AL this century.
To me, I have it as 2. I can't, even with all that I said, I can't have it as 1.
Okay. That's funny.
Obviously, that's tier.
Yeah.
Good. What's up?
That's funny. I actually do agree with you. I kind of just I was kind of
you get carried away, dude.
I forget. No, I kind of forget that there's someone else who's the greatest baseball player.
We become numb it's the Trout conversation, but just on a different echelon where we become numb to how good the next guy was, right? Marcus Semien in 2023. No, I'm just kidding. But still, like, go see, look at Marcus Semien's numbers from last year. It was crazy. But Shohei Ohtani, 2023.
Yes.
Wasn't really ever any doubt that this was going to be the best season, that this is an S tier season. He led the AL, okay, in OPS plus at 185. He was close to 200, right? So he still was close to where Judge was the year before. Wasn't quite there, but still was relatively close. 44 homers, 135 games, 20 steals. Talk about big guys stealing bases. 6'4", stealing 20 bases. 304, 412, 654 slash. Dude, what even is that? So he already would have been in the MVP conversation, especially with Judge being hurt, if he was just a hitter, right? If he was just David Ortizing it, he would have been in the conversation. But he also pitched the second most innings of his career at 132, with his second best ERA plus at 142, which made him a top 5 AL pitcher when healthy. So he was the best hitter, undoubtedly, in my opinion. I think he was the best hitter. You can make an argument for Yordan Alvarez, blah, blah, blah. Go argue with the wall. I think he's the best hitter. Top 5 pitcher, too. 9.9 overall WAR. Again, we're coming back to our best version of WAR when it fits my narrative, regardless. 9.9 WAR. He missed the last month of the season. He would have made a run at 11B WAR had he stayed healthy.
Yeah, I want to throw this out there because I think it's important. When Shohei Ohtani went down for the season, when he went down for this season, pitching wise, which was in late August, at that time he was leading the American League in OPS and ERA plus. I know, like, oh, advanced stat nerds. No, listen, I really need to get this point across. We're talking about a guy who adjusted was the most was the best at producing runs and the best at limiting runs at the same damn time. That is
Let me throw out one thing about that too.
yeah.
So yes, you're correct. But let me also make mention of the fact that on top of all of those things, on top of all of his amazing numbers that you can look at in the bottom line, he also has been since his career started, but even last year too, the best clutch hitter in baseball
Yes, I
and
love thank
the
you.
best clutch pitcher. So when the game's on the line, there's no one you want on either the mound or at the plate. And when the game's not in the line, there's no one you want more on the mound and at the plate, arguably at any one time. Again, you make
Yes.
arguments for, I want Aaron Judge and this kind of thing, or I want, Garrett Cole and this kind of, regardless. Overall, this guy is the most valuable baseball player we've arguably ever seen in baseball history, even more than we could argue like Barry Bonds steroid era, just because he can produce on the two things you need the most in baseball are offense and pitching. And he can do it better than anybody else on both
Yes.
sides.
I think yeah, I think something that's just so crazy. Like no like pretty much everything he does is a record.
Yeah. It's like
Like
because
every time he
it's
takes
so
the
absurd.
field, yeah, every time he takes the field, he's basically doing something that no one's done
So
before.
you
And
know what go ahead.
yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
sorry, I just want to throw this out there because June Shohei Ohtani that year, like that's probably the greatest player I've ever seen.
Dude, I was there for it too. Is the cool part. So
Yeah,
you
because
had Judge in
yeah,
2022. I live
you had
around
Shohei.
Anaheim. I
Yeah,
probably went to 8 games that month. Funny enough, it was just the same time that you and my girlfriend were like, you know what? Let's start going to some more Angels games, right? We're not big Angels fans, but it's like, it's close. And also
right there.
Shohei exists. So we went to like 8 games. Do you know how many homers he hit in those 8 games? I remember because I was counting
12,
mentally. He hit
8.
he had 7 home runs in 8 games that we went to.
Dude, he had 15 homers that month and he batted 394. And he ended the month. He's like, you know what? Like, this was the greatest month ever. Like, I'm just going to end it with a casual 495-foot moonshot off of Tommy Henry. That, like, dude, like,
People were talking about him potentially hitting 60 himself. And you know what? I guarantee you, if he would have finished the year healthy, he'd had 50.
oh, no, for sure. But you know what's crazy about him, too,
Hmm.
is that, like, he had that series. He had a series against the Rangers in June that year in Texas, where I don't think the Angels swept them, but I think they took 3 of 4.
Mm-hmm.
And that series, I think he had 5 homers or 4 homers. 3 of them were like in the clutch. He got a winning decision on the mound. Like that's the game. No one has ever had the ability to break a game like Shohei Ohtani because he
Nobody.
just has the skill set to do it, right? And like you said, since he debuted, he has the best OPS in high leverage situations. And like it's since he debuted, like he's a different type of player. I know, like wow,
This,
congratulations, guys, you've broken the take.
yes,
Shohei Ohtani is
exactly.
special, but like I know it's really
He's
trendy to
again
hit.
underrated.
No, dude, it's really trendy to hit on Shohei right now because people don't like when baseball markets their stars, but they get
Yeah,
pissed off when baseball markets their stars. It really
exactly.
annoys me.
Big time.
Um, but yeah, no, this yeah,
So,
it's
so
absurd.
two things, two last things I gotta say here. So, first of all, listen, baseball's a game that's been around for so long that to break any record is almost impossible. You
Exactly.
can't breaking the hit record Ichiro in 2005. It was seen as impossible. Like,
Yeah.
how are you going? It's dirt ball era, right? You can't break the win record. You're not going to
Yeah,
break the
that's
single
true.
season win record. You're not
Nope.
going to break the batting average record of any regard. You're not going to break doubles record in a season. I think it's like 70 or something. Again, dirt ball era. Not going to break that record. All these different records, even Ricky Henderson, different time, except the stolen base record. No one has ever done what Shohei has done at any level of baseball. And I'm not just talking about major leagues. I'm talking about international leagues. I'm talking about all of it. No one has ever done what he's doing past like high school.
Yeah, no.
So we have to appreciate that. That's 140 years, 150 years of baseball history in which nobody, Babe Ruth, people talk about Babe Ruth and the comps and all that. Babe Ruth did it for like 1 year. And he
Yeah,
still wasn't as productive as Shohei is relative to his era on the mound.
exactly.
No one's ever done this. We have to appreciate that. It's almost like when people talk about like a different conversations with different sports, like, oh, the LeBron's the best basketball player. We're gonna talk about Jordan. We're gonna have these, right? We're gonna have these debates. And we're talking about like hockey now. It's like, oh, how good would for the hockey fans out there, how good is Connor McDavid's talent level relative to someone like Wayne Gretzky, whose numbers are a lot better? Shohei Ohtani, there is no comp.
Nothing.
We can't even
There's
make
nothing.
any argument. That's why to
No.
me, it's like when people talk about the greatest baseball player of all time, it's like I know numbers matter, right? Numbers matter. We're talking about all
Yeah.
these numbers in this video. WAR, OPS, OPS plus, WRC plus, all these things. OPS. Listen, Shohei Ohtani is the best baseball player, right? Best baseball player. It doesn't, he might not have the best numbers ever. When his career's over, he might not have the best numbers ever. But there has never been a more valuable baseball player than Shohei Ohtani in Major League Baseball.
I agree. And I think it's so funny is that like right now with this Dodgers lineup, like I don't think we've ever seen a more I don't we may be seeing the best version of hitter Shohei at the moment. Like I don't
Yeah, yeah.
like I so
338, 384, 649, casually
yeah,
to start the year.
it's not even that though. Like so I've watched basically every Dodger game this year because the only time I'm ever free during the day is at 10 p.m. when the
Mm-hmm.
West Coast game starts where I live. And like and I thought this and then I went to Savant and it backed it up, so I was really happy. He's like he's swinging and missing 10% less and he is just so just locked in. Like I'm just thinking about that is like if you have a dude who's swinging and missing way less with the pop he has, like that's terrifying. And there's like the thing is like he like
There
there's
might
a
be a higher level to go,
yeah, like there's a monster run like coming from this dude.
which is just insane, insane
Yeah.
relative to what he's already accomplished. One last thing I want to say, okay? Because
Yes.
something about Shohei that's been pissing me off to no end is this whole betting scandal
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta address this somewhere. Someone's got to hear this from me. Okay, because
Oh
I
yeah,
gotta I gotta
please.
I gotta share this. Listen, Shohei Ohtani's team would not have come out and accused Ipe of stealing at that point. At that point, I think it was $5 or $6 million. Now it's
Would
like
have been a
16
crime.
million. They would exactly defamation, horrible. They would not have done that unless they had something against him, right? Second of all, Ohtani's camp revealed this information. This wasn't a federal inquiry. Nothing came out. They came out publicly and said this is happening. They have no motivation to do that except for to get their money back
Yes.
and to make sure he ends up atoning for his crimes. Okay. On top of that, how stupid do you think this guy would be to make hundreds of millions of dollars a year from all of his stuff and then bet in the dumbest way possible? I'm
Yes.
not saying he might not bet. Like that, I don't know him. I don't know him personally. I don't know if there are other players who aren't betting. I'm not trying to make that argument. What I'm saying is this would be the stupidest way to go through the closest person to you. If you were going to do something this controversial, you would need to go through so many backlogs, so many back channels. There's no
Yeah,
way.
but why is it no, yeah. That I want thank you for bringing that up because because things I on my personal stuff, I stay away from those topics just because I feel like most of the time it's just like lazy engagement bait.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
literally
exactly.
like there's difference between reporting new information and like retreading or like the same
Exactly,
stuff. Like I've
exactly.
seen some, yeah, right. So I will say this. I feel like a lot of the reasons why people want to say he's guilty, like, is that a lot of the questions people have about it are answered if you just read the goddamn document. The FBI, the FBI investigated this. Like, people are like, well, I don't trust the FBI. Sure,
Dude,
whatever. But if you think the federal government is doing a cover up for a non-US citizen, I'm sorry. I'm
dude.
sorry, dude.
And that's
I'm
the thing too.
sorry, dude.
There's
I'm
there's
sorry.
that whole uh argument. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like the you can't trust fallacy, I think.
Yeah,
Something roughly
but
approximating that, where it's like
yes,
people say something crazy. Well, he's obviously betting illegally. Well, yeah, but what about the federal government's inquiry into him? It obviously says, well, you can't trust the federal government. Oh, okay. Well, then what about what his whole campus said? There's a whole bunch of lawyers lying for him.
yeah,
Well, you can't trust
can't trust
lawyers.
them,
Well, it's like, dude, you could say that to infinity, bro. Like,
dude.
that's the argument for the world isn't round. That's the flat Earth
Yeah.
argument.
Oh, you trust
You trust the
NASA?
government? Really? They've lied to us how many
Nerd.
times?
No,
It's so
dude.
irritating.
Okay, the one part there's a few common things that are just annoying me. Like one person, I see the take all the time where it's like, well, why would a bookie give a translator making 300K a year like that sort of leash? I'm like, dude, he had a bank behind him. Otani, and it was all the things were in Otani's name, the money. Obviously, he's gonna be like, it's coming in.
My
He
favorite
had a
part too
bank
is that
behind
like,
him.
the reputable people known as illegal gambling facilitators didn't
Yeah.
hold him to a high legal standard. Did
Dude,
they even check his credit score before they gave him this money? Bro,
dude,
come on.
one of my favorite takes, one of my favorite like things someone threw out there was how like people are talking about how oh, like there was no way he didn't bet on baseball. But like I think it was Foolish Base Bailey said that, dude, why would an illegal bookie let eBay place a bet on something he has inside information to?
Yeah.
That's literally like that would be dumb. It's like because I know John Heyman was like, oh, Ipe showed great restraint because even though he stole $16 million from his friend, he didn't bet on baseball. Dude, what are we doing? What are we doing? No
Oh,
silver linings don't always need to be found. Okay, guys?
no, no. And it's also, I mean, at
Yeah.
the end of the day, dude, I mean, if you're trying to find, you know, ounces of nutrients in the pile of dog poop, like maybe go look for food somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, what are we
come on,
doing?
man. Come on,
Yeah,
man.
okay. I'm very happy we addressed that because
Yeah,
I've
exactly.
wanted to speak on it, but I didn't want to like so many people were, and I was like, I feel like I would just be like beating a dead
Exactly.
horse.
And I hope that whoever hears this can see the logic in what we're saying. Hey, listen, I'll jump on the Shohei hate train if it comes out that he did it and there's irrefutable proof. I
Yeah,
don't I listen, I understand there are people out there that treat this guy like he's the relative or something like that. Right? They have this
yeah.
parasocial relationship. I understand. He's the biggest, arguably at this point, the biggest athlete in the world. You can make an argument with him, LeBron, and then a few other soccer players
Messi,
and all that.
Messi and Ronaldo. It's just like it's
Exactly.
really hard for us to tell because we're so separated from Japan culturally and like
Exactly.
friend
Exactly.
wise. Because
But at the end of the day, he's still a player. I don't want players betting on baseball, obviously. That's
exactly
not appropriate. But there's no evidence for that. It'd be like
zero.
Mike Trout is betting on baseball. Book it now, man. Why wouldn't he? He's got insider information. He's betting on, he loves the Eagles, man. He's betting on football too. It's the
I
same
saw one dude.
argument.
Yeah, dude. There's this one dude on TikTok. He was like, Otani said he didn't know nothing about sports, but he went to a Gonzaga basketball game in 2020. Rui Hachimura is Japanese, and the game they went to was 10 minutes away from Angel Stadium.
Me and my girlfriend are going to a soccer game on, I think, Thursday or something. I don't know anything about soccer, but
Yeah,
like
I'm
it
like,
sounds like a
dude,
fun Thursday
stop.
afternoon. Like, come on, man.
Dude,
But
let's
we got
like
so far
I
off
know Otani,
track.
yeah. Yeah, I know Otani is the biggest star, but let's not use his situation for like clicks and stuff, please.
The nature of the internet, man. But I'll say this. This
Yeah.
is to me the best season since 2010 MVP season. You can make an argument again, like I said, like it's the most valuable on a rate basis, on a cumulative basis, on a whatever basis you want to make the argument that it's the best season of all time by many different metrics.
I think it's fair.
I think I have it at one, and it's S tier.
Yeah.
It's S plus tier. It goes into numbers if we want to go like in terms of like the quality of the season.
My
Um,
favorite thing, wait, I just want to throw one more thing about the season is that my favorite thing was that a lot of Corey Seager fans were saying that Seager should have won the award because Otani was hurt, even though Otani had more fucking plate appearances.
yep.
But
Yeah.
but uh, but okay, so I have the list if you want me to read it out.
Beautiful. Good.
So B tier is 2014 Trout, Josh Donaldson, Jose Abreu, 2020, you know. A tier, Josh Hamilton, Justin Verlander, both of Miguel Cabrera's seasons. Okay. And then we have Mike Trout in 2016, Mookie Betts in 2018. Sorry, I messed up because Jose Altuve is also in B tier.
Yeah.
I misread that. And S tier is both of Otani's and Judge's.
100%, dude. And then my only difference between that and mine is I have Verlander's 2011 in S tier.
Yes.
And then I also did order them. So for me, it would be Jose Abreu 2020 is last, 14th. Then it would be Josh Donaldson 2015 at 13. 12 would be Jose Altuve at 2017. All of those guys are B tier. Mike Trout's 2014 again. Borderline A tier. I have it at B tier. That was 11th. Then the top
Mhm.
10 is Miguel in 2012. 9 is 2013 Miguel. 8's Mike Trout in 2019. Josh Hamilton, 2010 is 7. 6, Justin Verlander, 2011. And then top 5, Mike Trout, 2016. Mookie Betts, 2018 at 4. And then top 3, we have two Otanis bookending the best hitting season, pure hitting season since Barry. Judge at 2, Ohtani at 3 in 2021, and then Ohtani first in 2023. Obviously, all of those be S tier.
That's
Just a
that sounds
crazy
great.
run for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
I'm so
Honestly, yeah.
happy.
I'm happy. I can't wait to do this again with a different maybe NL
NL,
or
NL, ooh.
Cy Young, or if we really want to torture ourselves, we could do Rookie of the Year.
Oh, Rookie of the Year, dude. Okay, one last thing I want to mention about Rookie of the Year. Dude, Immaculate Grid Rookie of the Year, like square, might be my biggest nemesis. I hate that thing so much.
Yeah.
Can you name me a Pirates
So
Rookie of the Year?
McCutchen lost.
If you
Did
can name me one, bro, I'll PayPal you $20.
okay. I got lock in. Damn yo, what about did Jason Bay win it?
Nope.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm tapped out.
I'll tell you who won. Okay, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Ready for this? What's his name? I can. I
Jason,
literally forget. Jason Bay
the,
may have won it actually.
no way.
Jason Bay may have won it, but it was him, and then there was one other guy. There's two for the Pirates.
Yeah, honestly, I could not tell you. Oh,
Dude,
he did.
he did win
He won it.
on a
Let's go.
2.2 WAR, dude. 2.2
Let's
WAR.
go.
I actually
Let's
will
go.
literally, I will literally tack that on to the next
Yeah.
money I send for the editor. I respect that, but regardless, dude, we have to make a whole video on Rookie of the Year because that thing is the most ridiculous
Yeah.
thing ward in baseball. But regardless, thank you to everybody for tuning in for our
Yeah.
MVP conversation. Obviously, hope you enjoyed the entire podcast. Tune in next week. We're obviously gonna be back at it. Maybe we'll do NL. Maybe we'll move different place for next week's
Yeah.
episode. Unsure at this point, obviously, but it was great having you guys here. We'll see you soon.